A couple of days ago, my family went to Dominic's preschool graduation, another grad in our church. And we drove through the parking lot with our windows down, waving and honking as his teachers, who were lined up 6 feet away, blew kisses and congratulated each kid as they passed in their car. It was not the graduation that I had expected for him, but he didn't know what he was missing, and he loved it. A couple months ago, my husband Brandon sat in his office here in Worcester and talked for hours to his professors in Texas over Zoom as he successfully defended his dissertation. And then a few weeks ago, we watched for his name and degree to flash across the big screen of the Baylor football stadium. A graduation of sorts, broadcast over Facebook Live. Kind of anticlimactic after so much work. Definitely not the graduation he had expected. One of the things that I love about graduation, and something that I really missed this year, is the official commissioning, the go forth moment. Go forth into kindergarten with confidence, or go forth into the world with the authority granted by XYZ degree that you've worked so hard for so long on. You've come so far, you've done it, now go out and use what you've learned. Here's how to do it. You have everything that you need. It's a beautiful and empowering moment, marking a shift from learner to doer, from student to practitioner. And I think it's appropriate that today, on Graduate Recognition Sunday, our gospel text is the story of a commissioning, a go forth moment in the middle of Jesus' ministry when he sends the disciples out to minister to. He sends them out with authority. You have everything you need, he says. He is shifting them from learners to doers. And it's a commissioning not just for those disciples then, not just for our graduates now. It's a commissioning for all of us. So as we celebrate our graduates today, as we send them out to mark this new phase of life, we are all invited to revisit our own graduation of sorts, to hear our commissioning from Jesus as his disciples. And I think we will find that it may not be the graduation we expected. The text is Matthew 9:35 through 10:23. It's a bit long, so we're going to work our way through it in shorter sections and talk about it as we go. Matthew writes, "Then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, 'The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest.' Then Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also known as Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. Philip and Bartholomew. Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector. James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus. Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons." What does it mean to be Jesus' disciple? What are we supposed to do? When Jesus commissions his disciples, he sends them out not to teach about him or convince people to believe rightly. He sends us out to do what he did, what he does. to proclaim God's rule by offering healing and compassion for people who are harassed and helpless. Go forth, Jesus says, and heal. Go forth and resurrect. Go forth and make peace. Go forth and liberate people from whatever it is that binds and oppresses them. This is how you proclaim the gospel, and it starts in your own backyard, Jesus says. He continues our commissioning with some rules for the road. Jesus says, "You received without payment, give without payment. Take no gold or silver or copper in your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for laborers deserve their food. Whatever town or village you enter, find out who in it is worthy, and stay there until you leave. As you enter the house, greet it. If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet as you leave that house or town. Truly, I tell you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town." These instructions from Jesus are jarring. He tells his disciples to take almost nothing, to go to the sick, the poor, the mistreated people of the world, those who have nothing and no one, to knock on their doors empty-handed and depend on their hospitality. This is important. Jesus commissions us to live and minister with and among hurting people, not from afar, not from a position of power, not as a benevolent benefactor who knows what is best, but as dependents, as friends, as co-laborers. And instead of outfitting us with weapons and money and provisions for our journey, Jesus equips us with greetings and peace and humility. If these things are not welcome, he tells us, then go somewhere else. The scripture continues with what those commissioned by Jesus should expect. "See, I am sending you out like sheep into the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Beware of them, for they will hand you over to councils and flog you in their synagogues, and you will be dragged before governors and kings because of me, as a testimony to them and the Gentiles. When they hand you over, do not worry about how you are to speak or what you are to say, for what you are to say will be given to you at that time. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child, and children will rise against parents and have them put to death, and you will be hated by all because of my name. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next, for truly I tell you, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes." So, when you've done all that Jesus sends you out to do, when you get his instructions right, when you are wise and innocent, this is what you have to look forward to: rejection, conflict, accusations, pain. People will be angry, relationships will be broken, trust may be hard to come by. This is what successful discipleship looks like, according to Jesus. The Spirit of God will be with you as you go, speaking through you, guiding you, making you brave. But I'm not sure how much comfort that is. I wonder what the Spirit of God has to say through our mouths to those in seats of power. But in the end, the one who endures will be saved. Our graduates may not have gotten their official commissioning this year, but we've gotten ours. Our purpose as a church, our mission statement here at FBC Worcester is, we are a community of believers who seek to grow in our faith and understanding as we live the way of Jesus Christ. We are committed to living the way of Jesus Christ, to being disciples. And being a disciple is difficult. It is costly. If we are going to graduate from being learners to doers, from having right knowledge and good intentions to being healers and liberators and gospel bearers in the world, it will be hard work. It will be demanding. Jesus tells us that it will cost us everything. Is this not the graduation you expected? Is this not a commissioning that we really wanted to hear? Our world is in just as much pain today as it was when Jesus sent out his first disciples. We are in such deep need of healing and liberation and peace. For us to bear the gospel, the good news of God in our world, for us to follow the way of Jesus, we have to fight against our protective impulses to hoard up more money, more time, more resources than we need. You have all that you need, Jesus says. To follow the way of Jesus, we have to stop trying to save the world with our superior wisdom and intellect and power. You are called to service and vulnerability among and alongside those that you wish to help, Jesus says. To follow the way of Jesus, we have to be willing to be disliked, disagreed with, shouted down sometimes. You are called to speak God's truth to the powers that be, Jesus says. Why does Jesus ask so much of us? Because he says the one who endures to the end will be saved. Our hearts, our souls, our lives are in just as much need of saving as the world around us. And it isn't comfort and security and good standing in the community that will save us. Debbie Thomas writes, Jesus calls us only to what we were created for. Jesus knows the cure for our brokenness, our malaise, our boredom, our angst. He knows that when we go out into the world in his name, healing what is diseased, resurrecting what is dead, and casting out what is evil, we participate in the transformation of our own souls. The commission Jesus gives us today, this go forth moment, is one that we have to return to over and over again, one that we have to recalibrate our lives and priorities to, our church's life and priorities to, over and over again. And somehow every time we hear it, it's still surprising. Every time we dare to accept it, it's still a little bit scary. It's not the graduation that we expected. But Jesus is working for nothing less than the full transformation of the world, the full transformation of our hearts and minds and lives. Will we join him? Amen.